Coming up on the Broadway Shuffle, we preview Texas Tech's chances in the Big 12 tournament, and we debate what a Big 12 championship would mean for your March Madness chances. That and much more next on the Broadway Shuffle. All right, welcome to episode 60 of the Broadway Shuffle. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, we are glad you are here, whether on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Hey, Shufflers, listen up. Something interesting that we track on YouTube is that 50% of you who watch this channel frequently have not yet hit that subscribe button, and I wanted to ask you a favor. It helps us channel a lot if you hit the subscribe button. It helps us scale the guest and just get bigger. So if you haven't watched this show before and you've enjoyed it, would you please hit that subscribe button? Thank you so much, and we promise to repay you by making this show better and better each and every week and getting the biggest guests on we can in Texas Tech sports. So thank you so much, and I wanted to shout out our subscriber of the week, Tech Tiger 38, otherwise known as Justin Kahn. The dude loves the bass or bass in our preview or in our intro music, and he's always commenting. So Justin, we notice you, man. Thank you so much, and we're glad you enjoy the show. So, all right, boys, we've got a big game to preview. We're playing Baylor today, Thursday, but a lot of interesting discussion we're going to have around the Big 12 tournament. I'm going to just start right off the bat hot. Z, I'm going to go to you first. Should we lose against Baylor on purpose? And I'll preface this question with, we lost to West Virginia in the first round in 2019 in the Big 12 tournament, and we ended up making the Final Four. These three games don't necessarily do a lot for you. So, Zyler, if you're Coach McCaslin, I'm going to put you in the shoes. What do you do against Baylor here tonight, Thursday night?
I don't know that they'll ever set out with the intention to lose. I think that the nice thing about losing is that you can find some solace in it. I think they're going to go out and try to win. I mean, you're the 2 seed for crying out loud. This is actually, probably the best chance you've ever had to win the conference tournament. The team that you feel, worse about playing is Houston, and you've never actually played them at full strength, and you've beaten them at their court, and you lost when you didn't have Darian and Chance on your own court. So, personally, I'd love another shot at them, but I don't want that to mean sacrificing anything for March Madness. I think the nice thing about the Big 12 is you finish on Saturday. So, even if you did make it all the way, you still get a really nice break until you play your next game. The earliest you could play is Thursday. So I say go try to win it. Just don't get hurt. Really, that's the only thing that I'm worried about.
Okay, and Clay, to Zyler's point there, maybe I'm asking the wrong question. Maybe you don't purposely tank, but you've had some injuries and some injury scares with D5, with Chance, with JT Toppin this year. Do you maybe put a minutes restriction? Let's feel the game out. Let's try to win, but maybe let's get some other guys some minutes because – and Clay, you can speak to this. This game won't hurt your seeding in March, correct?
Correct. But I think if you lose, you might forfeit the ability to get the 2 seed, but it's not going to drop you off the 3 line outside of every other team around you winning their conference tournament. But yeah, to Zyler's point, they're not going to try to lose. I think it's easy for us to say, excuse me. It's easy for us to say doesn't matter if you lose, Grant, don't play your guys big minutes. But, once they're actually in the game, how easy is that to stick to? If it's a close game, you're not going to pull Toppin and Chance because they played a lot of minutes. So I kind of agree with what Zyler said. I wouldn't really be upset if we lost. Honestly, if we lost, that Baylor win probably turns into Q1 from earlier in the year. So it's kind of a win-win.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're definitely not going to try to lose. And then, looking ahead, say we do beat Baylor, we'll probably be playing Arizona. They were talking a lot of trash in Tucson whenever they beat us. That series is split. They're obviously going to want to beat them too. And then if you win that game, you're in the championship. So losing there does no good.
So you want,
if you're going to play.
Yeah. So you want a revenge game against Arizona.
I mean, if we lost to Baylor, I wouldn't be upset. But if we beat Baylor and we're playing Arizona, I don't want Arizona to have the season series on us personally.
Well, and that's kind of why I asked the question this game, because if you go win this game, if you're in the semifinals, I would rather just go win it all. I would rather. Sure. All right, you're there. You've never won a Big 12 championship in the tournament. So Conrad, I know, especially with you and Baylor, and that's why I wanted to save your time to really gather your thoughts here, because I know the idea of maybe giving Baylor a little bit of an edge stings to you more than most.
Never, man. You can't let the Baylor Bears beat you. And I don't think that coaches necessarily think about losing, because once you get into the game, you want to win, like Clayton and Zyler both mentioned. But at the same time, if you've got to rest a guy because you're concerned about his health, then absolutely do that. I have no issue with that. But being in the game, being like, yeah, because I don't really care about winning this. I don't think that's necessarily Grant's mindset or the staff's mindset. But to me, losing to Baylor is just not an option. And, Grant went to Baylor for his undergrad. So, Grant probably wants to beat Baylor too. That Grant just does not seem like a guy to me that would say, yeah, let's pack it up and just, go into March Madness, have a nice, week break almost exactly before if we play on Thursday. So I do not want to see us lose to the Baylor Bears. And I don't know why. I don't know why anyone would think that way, to be completely honest. I get you want to be healthy, but you play to win the game, right? So I want to see us beat the Baylor Bears and then go on to hopefully beat Arizona and then beat Houston. But you never know what can happen, because it is basketball, and it's not March yet, but it's almost there.
It is actually March 13th.
I'm talking about March Madness.
I didn't know where you're
Conrad
do y'all see
basking in the glory of February.
Yeah, I'm still in February. I'm still thinking back to the Houston win.
Well,
y'all see what I'm saying though about not wanting to lose to Baylor? I mean, maybe I'll like it more than y'all.
Try to win that one.
Yeah, and I understand both sides, because if you look at it like an NFL argument with the Chiefs against the Broncos in week 8, it's like, why are we really? Do we need this? We've got what we need locked up, so why risk it? But at the same time, this could still technically be something you've never done. It's still a big deal for your program, and these kids are competitors. Yeah. So you don't want to say like, hey, go tank or like rest everyone. And basketball is not football. I mean, you've only got really 9 guys you could play. You're going to have to play some people, so it is kind of like you might as well go and get the job done. But I am with this team, I'm a little more nervous than maybe, that 2019 team, just because of the injury bug that has hit this. I mean, Chance was in a boot not 2 weeks ago, and I know it was precaution, but that still kind of alarms me when you need I care way more about the 6 games after the Big 12 tournament potentially than I do a game against Baylor. And so I'm just kind of in this place of, do you really want to risk a whole lot on something that is not meaningless, but meaningless in terms of like what it means for you cutting down the nets in San Antonio? It's a tough thing to battle in my mind, but I know the guys want to go compete. I just want what's best for your program. It's a tricky thing. And on Baylor's perspective, they need these wins. I mean, this team is squarely on the bubble. Like, Baylor needs a quad 1 win. They need to beat you. They need to beat Arizona. They're probably in the tournament if they beat you. So they're going to come out and play like it is their last game of the season, because it potentially could be. And, they're going to have Lavricombe back and all of this too. So I don't know. It's a tough thing for me. I mean, I want to win, obviously, but I care way more about the game on March 19th or 20th than I do March 13th.
How about we just go out there and play, and if we lose, we just say, yeah, we weren't really trying,
There you go.
So
yeah,
I think that's maybe a good,
the Michael Scott win.
Yes, it's always a win. But I mean, because this tournament, and for people that don't necessarily understand, what these tournaments are for is mainly for people that currently do not have a tournament bid and need to win the conference championship, because you get an automatic qualifier into March Madness if you win your conference championship. So it is a big deal for some, and for plenty of mid-majors. But for teams like Texas Tech, Duke, Auburn, this is really more like a walkthrough. You're like, hey, let's keep playing basketball, but we know our spot in March. We know what our goal is at. We don't necessarily need to win this tournament to have that. But Clay, I guess the question is, are we a 2 seed if we win the Big 12 championship? If we beat Baylor, Arizona, Houston, are you a solidified 2?
I feel like we would have a really good shot at it. If St. John's
have
won
11
the Big East.
Q1 wins.
Yeah,
you would. I think
you'd have to be.
Yeah, that would include like a win over Arizona, likely a win over Houston or Iowa State, likely. So, outside of St. John's also winning the Big East, which still wouldn't be as impressive, I feel like we would be the last 2 seed.
And then Z, what I guess the next question would be, so what is the big difference between the last 2 and the first 3?
So, okay. If you're the last two, you're probably going to Wichita. If you're the first three, or you're any one of the threes, you're probably going to Denver, just because Denver is a little bit closer for you, so you'd have that right. The only real thing, so if you follow David Warlock on Twitter, which I'm assuming is basically none of you, he does the comms for the March Madness Selection Committee, so he'll talk a little bit about where they are. So he talked tonight. He sent out a tweet at 5, and they've already selected the first 18 teams, and so those teams are already seeded.
And you're one of those.
You would assume you're one of those. I would be shocked if you're not one of the top. That would be shocking. So that's where, by the end of tonight and then tomorrow by like 12, they may have selected 35, 40 teams. And so that's where, if you're a bubble team, it gets really tough because your time may have already passed by the time you get to play your Friday and Saturday games. The one thing that it will change is they will go back and do what's called scrubbing. And so they'll go back, once they've selected the field, and they're going to go and they go team number 1 and they compare them to team number 2. And they say, do we need to make any changes here based on what's happened? And if they say no, they go to team number 2 and then team number 3. And if they move team number 3 in front of 2, then they compare team number 3 to team number 1, and so on and so forth.
So the teams are selected, but they're not seeded. Is that
they
what you're
are
saying?
Initially seeded? So those first 18, so they have the protected seeds. 1 through 4 have all been seeded right now, and then the first 2 5 seeds have been seeded. But those can change based on results that happen over the conference tournament.
Yeah.
Seeding can change a little bit with conference tournaments. It's much harder to make a case to get selected by winning games, but not actually winning the conference tournament.
Yeah.
It still can help, but at the end of the day, that bracket's really hard to put together based on geographies and conferences. And if it comes down to it, it's like, we'll just kind of keep it the way it is. So that's the danger of, hanging your hat on your resume in the conference tournament.
It's kind of unfortunate that like the conference tournament doesn't really matter for Power 5 teams. Like I feel like it's like you play for 3 banners the entire year. This is one of them, but no one really cares about it unless you're a mid-major or you're on the bubble.
It's like the NBA Cup.
The teams that really screw themselves are the SEC, the Big Ten, and the American, because they play their conference tournament so late into this week. Like the last game's on Sunday, that game does not matter at all unless it's a team that is going to qualify only by winning that game. At least the Big 12, if you play a game Wednesday, you play a game Thursday, and then probably if you play a game early Friday, it's going to help. But the game you play Saturday doesn't really matter. But some of those SEC and Big Ten teams, they may only play one-ish game.
And I guess that's kind of why I'm saying, like, if you're essentially playing a scrimmage on Saturday, like, do you run the risk? Like, I just, with guys
in the championship, it's like you might as well.
I know
that's
where it's hard because like you work so hard to win a championship, and like to Clayton's point, great point. Like this is one of the 3 regular season conference championship tournament, hopefully Final 4, and so it's like you get that, but it is kind of irrelevant. I mean, in terms of what your goals are.
That is one thing, though, that I love about college basketball is that it's the best sport in making every game matter, because you think about this, like we're playing for like 8th overall, and it's like that's not really a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it like matters so much when you're trying to get to that spot. And like some of these teams are battling for 45th overall. Every game matters. And that's what I love about the college basketball season. And you don't really see that in college football. You definitely don't see that in the NFL.
Especially now. I mean, especially now.
Or in the NBA. The NBA is the worst at that.
Yeah.
It's just like, dude, whatever.
Yeah, talk to me in June. Yeah, it's Conrad. It's going to be really interesting to see what this looks like, because especially something you've never done before. Like we have never held up this banner. We've gotten close. We've, competed against Kansas. I think, what was it? 3 was that the Bryson Williams year and Shannon McCuller, that was a great kind of run there. But this is something that it would be a unique championship to your program. And maybe you carry that on a positive side. Maybe you take the 3 games here, iron out some kinks, and you're like, hey, we figured this out. Let's roll. Like, let's get into March. So, I mean, I don't know. Now that you've kind of heard all of this from Zyler and Clayton, our bracket experts, and these dudes are experts, by the way. I said on last, I think I said last week, like Clayton and Zyler follow dudes that are probably just like in front of a computer 24/7 cracking these codes. They know. Does this change your mind at all, Conrad? I mean, on what Texas Tech should do during this Big 12 tournament week?
No, not really, because I'm not paid to make those decisions. I just get paid the big bucks to sit here on the Broadway Shuffle and talk about whatever we want to talk about. So no, I don't think so. I mean, it's right, like you said, there's 2 sides to everything, and you can look at it different ways. I find so much joy in seeing us win basketball games that I will never
Mhm.
not take that perspective on it, because I think that going into March, March Madness, let me say, having won the Big 12 tournament, say that does happen, that's only going to give you more momentum and more confidence. And I know we've had some injuries with D5 and Chance and JT this year, but the reality is, I mean, from Saturday night to Thursday at 11 a.m. at the earliest, 12 at the earliest. I mean, that's a good amount of time, even with travel time included, for them to recuperate. So I'm not
Mhm.
necessarily scared about their health. Obviously Chance did play in that Kansas game, and so it doesn't really change it for me. I still would love to see us win the whole thing, because that's just what we want to do, what we want to be about. But at the same time, if we do lose, you just have to be able to look at it both ways, from either a positive or a positive, outlook. Either way you look at it.
Yeah.
So no, it
Yeah.
doesn't change it for me. I just really want to beat Baylor tonight, and then ask me tomorrow.
Yeah, we will. We will. Well, that's
So
and yeah, I mean, I don't ever want to lose to Baylor. I think if we were playing like Kansas State or something, I'd be like, let Coleman Hawkins drop 30. Like, who cares? But like
I don't think Clayton would say that.
it is a
Hell no.
rival. Yeah. So another question I wanted to ask too before we transition is, we get through this week, we get to March Madness. For people out there that haven't started studying the field of 68, who might be in, who you might play in the second round, hopefully, right? We're hopefully not going to avoid an upset again, or hopefully we'll avoid an upset against a 14 or 15. I wanted to ask each of you a question. Which team, 7 seed or 6 seed potential, do you not want to play? Like, who is the biggest obstacle to
That's
you
a
to
great
the
question.
Sweet 16 here in about a week and a half? Z, you go first.
I bet me and Clayton have this same answer, but I'll let Clayton have this one. If Gonzaga somehow gets to the 6th line, I'm going to be so incredibly mad if they're the 6th seed we're paired against. That is going to make me unbelievably mad. They would be my least favorite team to see.
Now,
across
okay,
the
now
rest.
tell me why that is, because they did win their conference championship on Tuesday night, but they did lose 4 games. Like, this was not the 31-1 Gonzaga team. Why
No. Yeah.
Gonzaga this year? Why do they scare you?
Mainly because you would be about a 1-point favorite, whereas if you play a 6 seed like Michigan, you would be probably a 9-point favorite. They're just way better than all the other 6 seeds. They just haven't beaten as many good teams. They're kind of like I would view them like like a Wichita State team from way back in the day. If y'all remember those teams that were like really nasty, they just didn't get to play a ton of people. They're a lot like that. That's kind of how I view them, and they're going to have something to prove. They're looking to say, yeah, we are actually this good. That would be a humongous bummer to see Gonzaga. But Clayton, what did you think?
Yeah, the Gonzaga is a great choice. I mean, they made the second weekend like 8 straight seasons or something like that. So you'd have to break
Yep.
that streak. But my team would be Illinois. I think they're super dangerous. They like really scare me to play. I honestly think they're probably not quite as good as Gonzaga, but the reason they've had some slip ups this year is mainly due to injury. Whenever their team is fully healthy, they play like probably a 3 seed. And a stat that Zyler mentioned before the show was whenever they shoot better than like 25% from 3, they're like 18-2. So if
Yep.
they just make 1 out of every 4 threes, they'll probably beat you.
Mm.
So Illinois would be my team.
Okay, Conrad, you got one?
Yeah, my answer, I don't know if it would be surprising to Tech fans, but for me, it makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there anyway. My team would be Kansas, for the sole reason that you've already beaten them, and it's really hard to beat a team twice with their talent level in the same season, especially when Bill Self gets into March. Now, I understand this is not the same Kansas team as in years past. Their pieces don't really fit. You did beat them. You do have a better team than them, but something about Kansas in the tournament under this coach, that would scare me, because you've already beaten them. And so I'm just not sure how likely it is for you to beat the same team twice in the same season. I mean, you couldn't even do it with TCU, not to bring that up again, but you couldn't beat a team, that's going to miss the tournament twice in one season. So Kansas has more talent than them. So that would be my answer for simply those few reasons.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. Okay, I'm going to go with a team that Texas Tech would be quite familiar with off the court. I saw a recent bracket projection on ESPN by Joe Lunardi, had us as a 2 and had Ole Miss as a 7. As much fun as that game would be for the storyline behind it, that would scare the crap out of me, because like it just would feel like okay, we got to play Beard and Adams and every other assistant coach, and it just would feel like this. They're gonna somehow find a way to stomp on us because we Beard left, Adams left, and it just would feel like a revenge game for a lot of reasons, and that just scares me when there's more to a matchup than just a 7 versus a 2. So I'm gonna say Ole Miss. I do think you're much better than them. I do think, but like the SEC has been so tough this year. They've beat some very quality teams in the SEC. So I'm gonna go Chris Beard, Mark Adams, and the Texas Tech Red Raiders 2.0 down there in Oxford. That matchup would scare me more so for the storyline, but I wouldn't want to play them.
Brennan, I'm gonna correct you on something you said. I agree with your pick there in Ole Miss, but you said that Chris Beard left and Mark Adams left. The correct statement is Chris Beard left, Mark Adams was fired.
I got it. Yeah, but either way, there's probably some.
To be clear for our listeners,
Beard, we stomped in the dirt when he came back. He's probably pretty pissed about that. Adams, we obviously fired. So it's just the storyline of like they know the university so well. Obviously, they're a couple years removed from any of these players, but it would just feel like these guys in March, like we saw what they're capable in March. They did pretty well in March for us. I don't like the matchup size of what they're able to do and the success they've had in March as a duo. It just would kind of freak me out a little bit if they were the 7 and we were the 2. So
that would scare me a bit too. Even though I feel like we're clearly better than Ole Miss, but you're right.
Agree. Like almost be like outside of basketball, it would alarm me. That would be kind of the reason. Yeah. So all right. Well,
I have a question for you there.
Okay.
I have a question for you guys.
Yep. Go ahead.
Who would Avery Benson be rooting for in that matchup?
I don't want to answer that.
I've got a feeling, and I don't think our audience wants to know.
Let us know in the comments below.
I'll just say this: did Avery Benson transfer out of Tech to follow somebody specific?
I think that's probably your answer right there.
I believe he did, and I'll leave it at that. So, all right. Well, speaking of March Madness, Zyler had a special interview with Tim Kruger on Brackettology. Tim Kruger is a nationally known bracketologist. He's friends with Joe Lenardi. He's been in the business for a long time. They had a great conversation on pretty much really the science of bracketology and what you don't know about the process. It's a very in-depth interview. We are going to release that on Friday as a preview to March Madness selection show Sunday. So be sure to check that out. Tomorrow morning, that episode will be dropping on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Z, give us a little sneak peek of your interview with Tim and what that was like.
Yeah, Tim's been doing it longer than Joe Lenardi. So if you're looking for somebody that's got a huge in-depth knowledge of how that process works, he's actually done mock selection committees. You can find that on YouTube at Banner Brackets. It's like 20 hours worth of content. So be prepared. It's going to be extremely in-depth. But he's actually done committee work like that in the past, like how the actual selection committee works. So he really understands how that cake is baked. Really, really fun conversation. We talk a lot about tech and kind of how the bracket's made, where he kind of sees seeding discrepancies, what to do with teams like Memphis, Gonzaga, other pieces like that. It's a really interesting conversation if you're interested in the bracketing side of things. So yeah, tune in. Tim was a really great interview and we enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, so that'll be on Friday. That's a really exciting. We'll give you some good knowledge as to potentially how to fill out your bracket come Sunday night. And speaking of Sunday night, we will be going live on YouTube. We've been kind of teasing this for the last couple weeks now, but it is 4 days away. So Sunday, make sure to tune in on YouTube at 5 o'clock. We'll be there watching Selection Sunday, seeing where Texas Tech falls in the bracket, and then previewing that region as a whole, and then also giving you our initial reaction to a perfect bracket. We're going to fill out a bracket. It'll be a ton of fun Sunday evening, so make sure to check us out on the Broadway Shuffle and be looking out in the link below this video, as well as on our social medias, which you can also find in the link below in the description for a bracket challenge link on ESPN. We will be doing some prizes, see who all can join to get a perfect bracket. It'll be a ton of fun. You will not want to miss out on all things March Madness here at the Broadway Shuffle. So, all right, gentlemen, let's get to some spring football news. First week of spring, big deal. I have 2 questions I want to ask you guys. I'll share some news first. Coy Aiken to the slot. This was kind of teased a little bit, but we found out now it's official. Coy is also wearing number 3 this year, which is a great honor for this program. Clay, speak a little bit to Coy. That was kind of a tongue teaser there for a second. And what you think about his initial move into the slot. 6'2", 210, not typically what you find there inside. How do you think this adjustment will be for the offense?
Yeah, that'll be interesting. He's definitely not the prototypical slot receiver, but I feel like it makes sense with Virgil and Caleb Douglas. They're obviously going to be on the outside. So if you want to get Coy on the field, he's going to have to move inside. I mean, he's obviously a good receiver. I have confidence that he'll be fine in the slot. Excuse me.
Dude, you okay, man? You've been coughing all episode. You fine? Yeah,
I know
good?
I'm good, man. Thank you for checking on me.
Just if you need a cough drop, let me know.
Yeah. But no, I feel pretty confident in it. It may just be a bit of an adjustment period and maybe, running some different routes that you don't normally see from the slot.
Yeah. Z, I mean, so if you're looking right now at I guess I know it's March, but if you're looking at your 4 starting receivers, you've got Coy in the slot. Who's filling out the other?
Yeah, you're going to have Reggie over there on the left side. You'll have Caleb Douglas on the right. And then I think your slot guys will either be, Kelby Valson. You may see LJ Johnson. Those would be kind of the guys that I expect to play there. I wouldn't be surprised if we hit the portal in the spring for maybe another wide receiver. I think a lot's going to depend on how your guys perform, especially at that slot position this spring.
Mm-hmm. Conrad, another receiver that you might want to see join that group here in the spring?
Michael Crabtree.
That'd be very nice.
That'd be great. No, I think you're referring to Micah Hudson. Yeah, it's just too early to tell, man. I have no clue what's happening with Mr. Hudson. Hope he's doing well and getting on his way back to Texas Tech. I think that'd be a great thing. But I think he'd definitely help the team with his speed and obviously his talent. So would love to have him back if that's something he would be interested in. The program would be interested in.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that group kind of plays out in the spring. One question I did want to have for you guys: which group are you least confident in this spring? So going into spring football, we've had the transfer portal, we've had a lot of new pieces coming in, so there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of names we aren't too familiar with yet. But if you had to pick one group that you're kind of like, man, I'm not really sure about that group yet, and I know we've kind of teased this a little bit, but what position group would that be? Z, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, this is an easy one. It's quarterback for me. That's something that I think Conrad probably agrees with. And that
I was about to say, you stole my answer. Now I gotta go kicker for mine.
Mitch Griff's baby, or what's his name? I don't even know his last name.
That really is a great question. I think.
Are you not, Zyler? Were you not serious about quarterback?
No. I think there's worse position groups.
Okay.
I think he was just trying to get a rise out of you, Conrad.
Yeah, and I was actually
going to say quarterback, to be completely honest with you guys, but Zyler, you tell me.
We've got the quarterback situation figured out already. Quarterback's good to go. We already know who's going to be rolling out there. We're ready to rock. So I think for me, it's got to be defensive end. I think that's the spot where you brought in the least amount of time. You brought in Romello Height, and then you're just going to kind of roll with the guys that you had last year. I think I'll probably go defensive end. I think you have guys there, just nobody that's really done it at a consistent level outside of Romello. And you're going to need, like you saw last year, your starting 2 went down before the season even started. You need 4 to 6 guys there. And I think right now you've got one really proven player. So I'll go defensive end.
Clay?
Yeah, this is tough for me too. I would have said defensive end. And honestly, my mind has not been on football recently, but I think, so I could be missing someone that we got from the transfer portal, but I think I'll say linebacker. And that's only because, not to like single anyone out, but Ben Roberts kind of struggled in coverage last year. It didn't seem like which I could be missing someone, like I said, but it didn't seem like we did anything to really address that in the portal. So, you would hope that he returns to like his freshman year form, and improves a little bit in that area.
Yeah, the coaching staff clearly has confidence in the linebacker room. I mean, Jacob Rodriguez is returning, who was great. Curry's kind of there. Dingle kind of plays a little hybrid. Roberts too. But yeah, I agree. I mean, you need that position group, especially if the defensive line is going to struggle again. We hope it doesn't, but you need that linebacker group to play well in coverage regardless, and that's something we did not see last year. So I think that's a good answer. All right, Conrad, explain why you think it's the quarterback room.
Well, let me just say this about the linebacking core real quick. We didn't add anybody on the field, but we did add a fantastic defensive coordinator that will
Yeah.
hopefully elevate all of them, including Mr. Roberts, because Ben's got talent. We saw that his freshman year, obviously a down year last year, but hoping he gets back to where he was before. I would just say quarterback because you've got 2 scholarship guys. One of them, and Mitch, is. I mean, he's a good player, but I don't think anyone would want to see Mitch start a game for you, just because you'd hope to have somebody maybe at a little bit higher level. Obviously, Mitch is a good player. Happy he's here, but he's maybe not where Will or Barron are. And so I'd say quarterback because you've got a redshirt freshman quarterback who's played limited snaps, shown flashes, and then your starting quarterback is hurt, and you don't know what he's going to be like when he comes back. You hope he's back in June, but you don't know if he's going to be July or maybe it's even August. And so for that reason, there's no more important position on the field that you need to play well than the quarterback position. And so if you don't have a guy that you feel really good about, which we do have guys we feel good about, we just one of them did it last year and he's hurt, and the other one really hasn't taken very many meaningful snaps. So that's why. It's not because we don't believe guys. It's just because they haven't, there's just uncertainty around them. And you can get away with other positions. Say your linebacking core, for example, is just kind of average. You can get away with that. You want to win a Big 12 championship? You're not winning a Big 12 championship with an average quarterback. And so we just don't know fully about Will yet. We think we have a good idea. He's going to be special, but is that time now or is that next year? And then Barron, obviously Barron was good, but what's his health like, and is he going to take the next step like we hope he can?
Do you guys feel like the Barron news has almost just kind of gone under wraps, like quarterback, because we had such an exciting transfer portal? Like, I feel like people aren't concerned about the quarterback room at all, where I'm kind of like, dude, your starting quarterback had shoulder surgery on his throwing arm. Like, that's not something you just kind of get over easily. And your backup is a dude that is a true freshman last year. Like, I agree with Conrad in that point of like, I think all of us got so excited and we got a lot of national attention, but it seems like, hey, yeah, like an ESPN article came out yesterday. Who could be the next Indiana in the college football playoff? And Texas Tech was one of those 7 teams. Like, this could be the team that is invested and goes to the college football playoff. And those are the expectations. Yet our spring quarterback is
the most important position on the field is uncertain.
If we are like Indiana next year, the amount of hate we are going to get from like 8 different SEC teams is going to be off the charts.
That is so true.
It is going to be
like Kirk Herbstreit.
Yes, it'll be 6-4 LSU is going to be like, this team ain't played nobody, and
I would love nothing more than for us to be 10-0.
Great,
and Kirk we're 10-0 and Kirk Herbstreit comes on the show and is crying about how we're undeserving of a playoff bid. I would love nothing more than that.
I don't know if anybody had a bigger fall from grace last year in college football than Kirk Herbstreit.
Yeah,
100%.
I mean, it was like almost universally, I wouldn't say universally, very well liked in the college football community to like almost public enemy, like number 2 or 3, because Greg Sankey will always be number 1.
Right.
But Kirk Herbstreit was, I mean, unbelievably bad toward the end of the season.
If there are any public investigators out there that are watching the show, if y'all could somehow find a way to check Kirk Herbstreit's bank statements and see if there's a wire transfer from Greg Sankey, that would be fascinating for the entire world to know.
And Ohio State. And I'm sure there is actually.
And he's a great color guy. He really is. Very talented
he is.
In that regard.
But the opinions were bad.
Yeah. So that's the kind of the quarterback thing. I just feel like that's a little under wraps. It's like, hey, that'll all work out. And I think if we should be alarmed about any position in Texas Tech, it's been quarterback. The last year was the first year in like a decade you had him start all 12 games. So we need to be. That is still concerning to me. But my answer, so I don't give the same answer, is your running back room. And the reason I say this is, you lose a guy in Taj. I have a lot of confidence that Jacoby and Cameron, is Cameron Valdez still technically on the roster?
I actually think he might be.
He is.
Cameron and Cameron. And then you have Quentin Joyner, obviously coming from USC. There's a lot of excitement in that room, but still replacing a guy like Taj is going to be difficult. If they do it by committee, great. I just want to see it. You got to have the confidence in some of these guys. We saw some spurts last year from them. Excited to see what Joyner brings to the room. But I'm just going to say I'm the least confident solely because there's not a lot of experience there. Cameron is coming off an injury. He wanted to transfer. And then obviously, two, again, freshmen from last year, and Dickey and Williams. So a lot of intrigue at that position, but nothing of full-fledged production where I'm like, yeah, I'm very confident that group is going to be a Big 12 level production that we might need in the offense.
Yeah.
And seeing what they do with Leftwich as the coordinator will be interesting as well. So I'm going to say the running back room, just out of the lack of experience, and hopefully they'll be able to come in and we'll see them have a great spring and summer and be ready to rock in the fall. But for now, I'm going to say the running back room. So we got quarterback, defensive end, linebacker, and running backs are our 4 positions. So that'll be interesting.
Nobody said
It's kind of
kicker.
crazy that
Would you say kicker?
we have
I don't
we
even
have
know who our
Upton
kicker
Bell
is
as
next
fan.
year.
Dude, our kicker is going to be raw. I watched him at Buffalo. That dude can drill
Perfect.
like 50 yarders.
All we need.
He's great.
Okay, Clayton, did you have a thought before I transition to another question?
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say it's interesting that none of us said offensive line because that's been the biggest thing holding us back for like the last 4 or 5 seasons. Yeah,
That is a
But
great
it would have been a
You
cop- it
just
would've been a
spent so
cop-out
much
answer.
money there that
Yeah.
that doesn't scare me anymore.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the Aggies have spent insane amounts of money, and
that's true.
Well, yeah, that's true. But if we spent this much money on offensive line and we still find a way to be bad on the offensive line, I just may bury my head in the sand.
I mean,
and not wanna
there's
talk about football
questions
for a long
about
time.
there's questions about Howard Sam's. I mean, you're going to be brand new
Yeah,
unit.
no,
Yeah, that's true. Don't worry.
I mean,
Conrad.
Colorado
It'll be
spent
okay.
a ton of money on their offensive line last year, and it was dog doo-doo, like one of the worst in the Big 12.
Yeah.
I mean, there exists a very realistic world where it's trash.
it's March, man. Let's not get there yet.
so much so that Shador's draft stock has fallen out of the first round. That's how bad.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I am so sorry to hear that. Couldn't happen to a better guy.
It couldn't happen to a better guy.
What's his song? What's his song? Perfect timing? I guess it's just perfect timing.
So cool. Okay, one final question on football. If you could bring back one Tech player from the last 5 years since 2020, who would it be? I'll go first. Henry Colombi.
Oh my gosh. No.
We need a third
Oh,
string in
We
case
need
our
another
first to go
It's
to.
true. It's
I'm
true.
kidding. Okay, so
Just
one
kidding.
No,
player.
Brennan, I know who your answer is.
Who?
Tyler Shuck.
Oh, dude, don't get me started on Tyler Shuck. I was the ultimate Tyler Shuck hater, like for sure. I could not stand him from the beginning.
I think you could actually make a case that Tyler Shuck would be a decent answer. Like, I don't think that's who I'd go with, but I think there's a case.
Dude, he just had bugged me. He bugged me. I don't know why. It was just one of those things like, I just don't like this guy. Just like people just don't like me. Yeah, I just don't like this guy,
I get it.
Okay, so honestly, though, one player from the last 5 years. So we'll go, because COVID was janky, we'll go 2019 counting. So go, full seasons since 2019 to now, who's one player you would love to have on this upcoming roster? Clay, I'll let you go first.
Wow, I get first pick. There's an obvious answer, but I'll let someone else have it because they've already talked about it. I know this isn't necessarily a need, but I would take Eric Ezukama just because he was so sick. He was so good, and I feel like he always played with subpar QB play. I would love to see him in an offensive system with an actual QB and like other receiver talent around him that takes attention off of him. So I'll say Eric Ezukama.
That's a good answer. All right, Conrad.
I'd take Rabbit. He was just such a great player for your defense. Would love to see him kind of slide into this scheme and see what he could do. But there's a case to be made for a lot of people. Honestly, we've had some good players leave us. Really good players. Zyler, what about you?
I mean, I think the obvious answer is Tyree Wilson. I mean, I don't know that there's a better. You can maybe make a case like Jordan Brooks. Like, I'd love to have him back. Like, he was just a monster for you as a linebacker, and I think he would fit this defensive system perftly. But yeah, I mean, I think there's no way you don't take Tyree Wilson in my mind. That's who I think Clayton was referencing.
Yeah,
I agree.
I was gonna say Jordan Brooks, actually, in all seriousness, because when we got an NFL linebacker, a starting NFL linebacker that you could bring to your roster, I think that's huge, and the defense needs it and needs people like that on your side of the ball. It is interesting. I mean, there's been a lot of Red Raiders that like have subtly done well at your program, but then actually go to the NFL and have pretty good careers. It's been exciting. I mean, Conrad, to your point, EZ is also in the NFL too, and so it's interesting, man. I mean, this team, we'll see what we really need, but defense never hurts. So Tyree Wilson and Jordan Brooks combination would be quite filthy on next year's roster.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, Henry Colombi, that was just a total joke. First player that came to mind. I know the dude's a solid Red Raider. He still tweets all the time, loves our school. So Henry, if you're listening to this, man, all fun and games. We'd love to have you on the show. And come talk ball. So it'd be great. All right. Well, let's close the show. We're going to switch it up tonight. Clayton had a good trivia question. So usually Zyler runs our tech trivia to close the show, but Clay had a fire question tonight. So Clay, we'll let you take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Zyler, for letting me have your throne for the night. So JT Toppin recently won Big 12 Player of the Year. That's the second Texas Tech player to win the award. There are, I believe, 4 teams. Hold on, let me go to my notes. Yeah, 4 teams or schools who have never had a Big 12 Player of the Year from the original 12 schools, and there's one that's been in the Big 12 the entire time. Do any of you know what that school is, or any of the 4?
Okay, so just making sure. So this would include Missouri and Nebraska, but would not include TCU.
Correct.
That is
okay.
Or West Virginia.
Wow.
We'll go. There's 4 schools.
Excuse me, there's 3. There's 3, sorry.
3 schools
Okay.
that have never had a Big
Yes.
12 Player of the Year.
There
I'll
was
go
a really
West
good
Virginia.
Colorado player. No. West Virginia's not the original. Like think 2008.
Oh,
Big 12.
yeah.
I'll go. I know it's not Oklahoma State. I know it's not OU. I know it's not
Oh.
Texas. I know it's OU.
I'm going to
think
guess, is A&M one?
Yes, A&M is one.
really.
Dude, because, well, think about all the studs like in the early 2000s. I mean, you're playing against Kevin Durant, like there were just some ballers in the Big 12 then. So A&M is one. Okay. Is Colorado
That's not
another?
surprising.
It's got to be
Colorado
Colorado,
has to be
right?
one.
Colorado has to be an answer.
Colorado is another one.
Dude, I'm on fire. Let me have one more shot. I'm 2 for 2. I mean, dude, it's got to be Nebraska.
Nebraska actually does have one
Yeah.
in
They
1999.
never made the tournament.
They've never won a tournament
Or
game.
no, sorry, they never won a tournament game.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
No, I'll
All
take
right, someone else take
Michael
it.
Beasley would have won one.
And I did actually misspeak. There is 4.
Dang.
Dumb.
So y'all have 2.
Dude, okay.
And one of them is still in the Big 12.
There's no
This
way
is
Michael
tough.
Beasley didn't win it for Kansas State. And we already said Colorado, right?
Yeah, y'all have Colorado
Yes.
and A&M.
No, it's got to be Kansas State.
Oh, no. Missouri's got to be one.
Yeah, that is the third
Yeah.
one.
Oh,
Y'all are
okay.
just missing.
Is Kansas State the 4th?
No, Baylor is actually the 4th. They've never had.
Wow.
Really?
They're
Wow.
the one school that's been in the Big 12 the whole time and doesn't have.
Who
that
won it?
award.
when
Why is
Jared
that so
Butler
surprising
was on
to
their
me? It
team?
shouldn't be.
In 2021, Jared Butler didn't win it? That's
Hold on,
wild. No,
That
I believe
was
you.
Cade Cunningham.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's tough.
Wow.
Yeah, that dude's a baller.
Dude, that is a great stat.
Wow,
Maybe
I was
Clay,
shocked to see.
maybe Clay should run trivia. Z, I don't know. That was a
No.
pretty good
That
one.
was
You're all
incredibly
stumped.
impressive.
Really good.
That was a
They
great
had
Thank
Clay,
you guys.
way to take over, man.
That
Wait
was
a
shocking.
minute.
I would have never thought Baylor.
Me neither. I was really surprised because they've had some really good players.
Yeah,
Yeah, they've had some great teams.
that is wild. Man,
But I
the
guess
big-
when I think about like no like transcendent, Jared Butler would have been the only one. Because I
Yeah.
can't think of a Baylor player.
They had like
Well, transcendence
Perry
and Baylor
Jones
are not 2 words that go in the same sentence together, guys.
right.
Conrad is letting the hate flow through him tonight.
he is
It
ready.
it's
He is
flowing.
ready.
I don't
for
think.
it.
I really don't think it's hate. I think it's just I believe
Yeah.
that facts need to be stated, and that's just a fact. So,
Dude,
I mean,
hey,
I don't know.
speak your truth, man. Speak
Yeah,
your
that's what
truth.
Conrad always says.
I
He's
don't
always
like
telling us
that.
to speak our truth. We'll take it from
that's
you,
not
Conrad.
exactly
We'll-
it at all.
we'll speak our
I'm
truth.
about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And Baylor and transcendence do not go together. That's not my truth. That's just the truth. Period.
It's just the truth. It's just the truth. That's awesome, man.
Okay.
Well, Clay,
Okay.
good question. Fun episode, guys. We will be back. Well, I guess you'll be able to listen to Zyler Friday morning with Tim Kruger. Do not miss that. It'll really give you a great idea into bracketology and give you some idea for your brackets coming up on Sunday. We will see you Sunday at 5 o'clock. The 4 of us will be back on YouTube. if you can't be there, if you've got some event Sunday night, that's fine. It'll still drop Monday morning as well on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. But if you want to just tune in, you'll be able to comment live. We'll answer questions. Whether it's 2 of you or 200 of you, we hope to see all of you there Sunday. So do not miss that as well. So again, don't forget to follow along on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. We will see you guys on Sunday for the Broadway Shuffle. Wreck 'em.